Welcome. It's Tuesday, February 9th. This is a special meeting of the Architectural Review Board. It is 5:32 p.m. We have 4 items officially on the agenda tonight, and then 1 item for informal discussion. Let me recap the rules and the order of how we'll speak. If you are an applicant tonight, you will be called on to present your materials. We'd ask you to go through everything in detail, and then one at a time, the board will ask you questions. You will go on mute and wait till the board is finished. Every member gone through, asked you questions. Once they've done that, as an applicant, you can respond to all board member questions at once at the end. The order tonight for our board members is going to be David Riley, Alex Lopatensky, Rebecca Morrison, Allison Hughes, Sherry Green, Leslie McCauley, Sean Brown, Marion Castell, and David Humphrey. If you guys could remember your order, I'm going to call on you one at a time at the beginning. I'll remind you one more time, and it's up to you guys to go one after each other. To start, we have ARB number 3, 2021. This is 1020 Post Road that's proposing an outdoor patio and a pergola.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm David Genovese, principal of Baywater Properties and the property owner at 1020 Boston Post Road. Joining me tonight is David Nelson, the operating partner for 1020 Post Restaurant, Jim Sullivan, the managing partner of Pearl Restaurant Group, which owns 1020 Post and a number of other restaurants throughout Westchester and Fairfield counties. Eric Rains, the landscape architect, who we love working with, who's helped us design some great public spaces, and Kate Perez, whom you know as a member of our Baywater team. I wanted to, can I share my screen here? And can you see that?
David. There you go.
Okay, great. You can see that now?
Yep.
Okay, yes. Terrific. So this is a presentation of 1020 Post and kind of what's here. Some of you, I think, I know Marion, Sherry, a couple of you may have been on the commission when we actually designed and built 1020 Boston Post Road in 2008. By way of background, we built this building in 2008, and 1020 Post was the original restaurant tenant. David Nelson and Jim have been working with us since that time. They opened the restaurant in the fall of 2008, and at the time of its opening, we had gotten permission from planning and zoning to do an outdoor patio in the back of the site, and also outdoor dining on the Post Road, a few tables on the Post Road. The outdoor dining in the back of the building has always been a great success. In candor, I think David would agree, and he's here tonight also to answer any questions. The Post Road dining didn't really take off until COVID. So, as we were saying earlier, COVID has brought some curses and some blessings. One of the blessings, I think, is an appreciation, a new, stronger appreciation for outdoor dining. And the Post Road seats were really, really well used this year by people, even in some very cold weather. It's been such a hit that we've been having discussions with Jim and David about, how we might kind of rethink the restaurant opening up in the new year and this year when we get through the next couple of dark months that we're in, and also how we might position the restaurant to succeed and to be strong, the fixture of the community that it's been, when the Corbin district opens up and we have, a couple of new restaurants. So we want to really kind of do some enhancements to the whole experience. So in connection with this project that we're proposing, Jim and David are going to be doing some reworking to the interior of the restaurant. It's been crazily 13 years. It flew by, but it's time to kind of rethink things a little bit, and we want to open up strong when the spring comes, spring and summer. So this image is just of diners outside, a family sitting in one of the tables, and the catenary lights that David strung up, which we think just looked beautiful on the Post Road this summer. This is an aerial view of the site showing the original outdoor dining. As you can see, along the driveway, we have a brick paved sidewalk, and we had just some simple Victor Stanley benches, the town standard benches. But this outdoor dining has always been really nice. It's got a nice landscaped area. It's got some trees. It had a wall pole fence that we had put around the outdoor dining patio, which is brick pavers today. As some of you may remember, just a quick historical background, we had a similar design for the original back patio of what was Baldanza Restaurant, but for the prior tenant, we actually reconceived of that. I know we came to ARB for it, and we actually tried to make it more substantial. So we took out the old patio because people would say that they felt that they were kind of dining in the parking lot, and it wasn't really that pleasant of an experience. We basically made a big investment a few years back and installed this pergola structure to make that outdoor dining area feel more like an outdoor room. And what we'd like to do is enhance the outdoor dining experience here and do something similar to 41020. This is a view of the existing setup and kind of what was going on this summer. As you can see, our grass got trampled from all the takeout business and people walking because David and his team had artfully set up a really nice takeout program there where you could literally pull up and they would bring the food right to you. So we kind of trashed the grass. This is a view of the sidewalk, the brick pavers along the sidewalk with the Victor Stanley benches and the town standard coach lamp lights. So with that, I'd like to maybe turn it over just to David Nelson and Jim Sullivan, just to give you kind of a quick background on their perspective on the place, and then Eric Rains can talk about the specifics of the plan, and I'll drive the physical presentation here for you, Eric, when you get into the drawings. But David, do you want to just give a quick? Yep.
Liz, can I hold you guys to another 10 minutes tops to make the presentation, possibly less, Dave? Is that okay?
You know what? If you'd like that, then why don't we just let David and Jim kind of close the conversation and we'll turn it right over to Eric. Okay, we can do that. Eric, do you want to just kind of walk through the design?
Sure. Can you zoom in a little bit? So this slide really is about existing versus proposed. So on the left is the terrace that David mentioned. And then on
Eric,
the
I'm going to stop you. One second, stop it. When you speak, can you give us your full name and your company or relation for you or whoever your partners are speaking? Sorry about that. Thank you.
No, that's okay. I'm sorry. I'm Eric Rains, the landscape architect for the project, and the name of my firm is Eric Rains Landscape Architecture. So on the left is the existing configuration, and then on the right is the proposed with the. And if you zoom in farther, David, you'll see the dashed line in the proposed that represents the existing, so you could get a comparison of the modification. And with the modification, there's an expansion of the existing terrace, and then also with a pergola overhead, as David had mentioned. And then along with that is the new seating that would go along the entry drive. And then the existing seating is shown there on the post road itself. The intention for the paved area, the dining area along the entry drive, and then the material that would run along the base of the building adjacent to the terrace is, at this point, we're considering bluestone. And then under the pergola itself would be the same pavers, but we'll supplement those as necessary to accommodate the larger square footage. So we've put together some images on the next page to give a sense of what the pergola would look like. And in the, Dave, just zoom in one by one. So in the upper left is, it's a pergola overhead. It's a very simple frame. That would have the detailing similar to what's shown. And then the perimeter enclosure would be, very simple rail with a crossbar. That's looking, toward the, from sort of the southeast toward the northwest. There's an enlargement of that to get a little bit more detail. And then David, and then here the bluestone that I mentioned before that would run along the base of the building, and then alongside the building going toward the post road, where the new seating it would be. And then to the left of that image, David, is the existing walkway that connects from the parking lot to the post road, which would remain the same brick paver that it is today. And then finally, there's the last slide is more of an evening representation of how some of the lighting could be integrated into the space once it's built.
I should also add, David Genovese from Baywater here, the property owner. I should also add that we have also filed an application with planning and zoning for this. So know that like we're on a dual track with the ARB application and planning and zoning's application, because this is technically a modification to our business site plan.
So if there are any questions,
That's really the presentation of the materials, the design, and the idea. If you want us to keep it tight, maybe we'll save Jim and David for comments at the very end after you guys ask any questions that you may have.
Liz Geiger here, Chairman. Yeah, gentlemen, that was great. I really appreciate it. It's succinct, and you guys did a beautiful job presenting this. I mean, I think we're gonna have follow-up questions maybe about the lighting if you have details on that. And I would love, again, confirmation that pavers are used on the sidewalk and under the pergola area. But like I said, how we're gonna run this meeting is each ARB member is going to go through, ask you questions, write them down. When we're finished, you guys will have a chance to address every one of the questions one at a time. So the order tonight is going to be, again, Dave Riley, Alex Lopatinsky, Rebecca Morrison, Allison Hughes, Sherry Green, Leslie McCauley, Sean Brown, Marion Castell, and Dave Humphrey. Dave Riley, would you like to kick it off for us, please?
Sure. Dave Riley, Architectural Review Board. So a couple of questions that came up in reviewing the drawings and then hearing your review on it, and the mention of the lighting partially addresses one of those questions. But first and foremost is with the pergola structure. I don't see any like slats or any fabric. Is there any sort of shading device, either retractable, temporary, or permanent, that will be incorporated into that? Also, in regards to the seating along the drive coming in, and this is probably as much of a zoning question as does it conform with all the passage requirements for circulation, and also what is the nature of the lighting along there? There are the two lamp posts, but it seems like for individual diners, whether those are either lights at the table or will there be lights incorporated onto the side of the building, such as sconces. Just kind of curious as to what the approach on that is. Whereas at the pergola, I see that you've got the string lights, but again, those are temporary lights. Will there be any permanent lights at the dining and also where the bar setup is as well? Also, going back to, you made mention of like a takeout pickup area. I don't see that specifically addressed here, and it seems like, and it's probably in here because you know, acknowledging that has become kind of a normal means of doing business, as far as, you know, driving up, having somebody run out and drop off the food. Is that shown as like a POS station on the back? I just like some clarification on that, so that it seems like there's not the opportunity for trampling the grass down, but where is that going to occur, and will that have any impact on circulation of diners and staff? So that's pretty much my take on it currently. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alex Lopatinsky, ARB member. Dave, you were very thorough. You got through a lot of the questions I had, but I have one additional question for clarification. The seating you are adding along the drive aisle, it looks like you're eliminating all the shrubbery there. Are there plans to add in any greenery along that seating area to enhance that experience, both for the pedestrians and the diners? All the same questions around lighting are mine. And that's it. Looks really good. I think I'd like to sit under that pergola as long as there's enough lighting there, like the rendering shows. Thank you.
Rebecca Morrison, ARB member. I think it looks really nice. The back looks great. I wish that just from a design perspective that there was some tie-in from the pergola on the back to the side, that that somehow some sort of structure was also feasibly on the side, so that to carry that through, because I think that the pergola in the back will be much more desired to sit there than on the side. And the only other thing that I thought of, and I don't know if it's been thought of or addressed, is that right now, if I was sitting on the side, it just seems that it'd be a really long way to walk, either as a server or a patron, to try to get to a bathroom, any sort of facility inside. And I was wondering if there was any thought about opening up even the middle areas and making it, I know there's those large windows, but making it a French door. And that's it.
Allison Hughes, ARB member. I particularly like the choice of materials. I like the fence design, and I like the use of the blue stone. Looks great.
Sherry, we can't hear you. Liz, you're on mute still. I'm sorry, Sherry, we're not hearing you.
So sorry, I just jumped in. Sherry Green, ARB member. All right, I'll start over. All my questions I think have been answered. I think it looks terrific. I love the lighting at night. I am very sun averse, so it's very important to me to know that there's some kind of covering for afternoon or even early evening dining over the pergola. I don't know if the trees are enough to take care of that. And I also would like to see some kind of delineation along the driveway with the tables there. It looks a little bit exposed somehow. I don't know whether you can extend the fence line or to think that through somehow. Anyway, that's it. I think it looks great. Thanks.
Leslie McCauley, ARB member. It looks fantastic. I just had a couple of questions. Maybe you said what the material of the pergola is. And the fence, I would also like to see a plant list. I didn't see one. I don't know what the trees are or the shrubs that you mentioned. Wondering if you were taking down a tree or transplanting it. Wondered if you would consider planting ivy along the base of the split rail fence to ground the occupier of the space when they're underneath the pergola. The corner pieces of grass that you have, I wonder if those are going to be a maintenance nightmare as far as cutting the grass, and if you would consider putting in planting beds. And something that maybe wasn't evergreen so that the snow load wouldn't kill them off season. Yeah, and oh, one last thing. You had in your diagram, in your images, you had that takeout area as grass, but then in your, oh, no you don't, okay. So perfect, that one photo that you have there. I'm concerned with the planting beds where the lady's walking out from the restaurant. If there are small children running out, a car isn't going to be able to see the kids coming. And that's it. Thank you.
Hey, this is Sean Brown from the
Sean,
ARB. Yeah, Sean Brown from the ARB. I don't have any comments other than what has been expressed so far. Thanks.
Marion Castell calling, our ARB, and I think it looks great. And I like all the the suggestions are very, very good. And one comment, and the planting, a few more plantings with some color might be good. But I also happen to like the strength of the trees. It gives it an importance. And I don't know what trees they are, but that vertical strength gives it a significance, I think, that is worth thinking about, having the trees the way you describe them. I don't know if that's what you're going to do, but I like that in the drawings. And that's all. Thank you.
David Humper here, ARB. Yeah, I think it looks really nice, really well thought out. I don't have any additional comments. My questions were related to the lighting and were addressed by previous members. So all set. Thank you.
Ms. Geiger, Chairman. So I don't have anything in addition to add. So Dave and Eric, Jim, whoever, you guys go ahead and comment away.
All right, let me try to go through the list, and then I'm going to reach out to my team here on various points that I can't answer. One of the questions was, is it contemplated that there would be any covering over the pergola? This is something we talked a lot about, and Jim Sullivan and David Nelson, can you confirm? I don't think the intent was to put covering over the pergola. I think the idea was that, when we really looked at kind of when the weather wasn't okay or great for outdoor dining, was on a relative basis such a small amount of time. Your sense was people would prefer, across the market generally, more people would prefer, sunlight, daylight, lack of covering.
So we did talk about, Jim Sullivan here, I'm sorry. Yeah, we had talked a lot about shade in the back here. And what Eric proposed here was these big shade trees actually. And maybe over, and Eric, you can confirm this, over one area of the pergola, he was possibly going to put some kind of natural shade, which would be in the form of like bamboo or something like that, is something we talked a little bit about. And then the other idea would be, the tables out front would be umbrella tables, and they would have shade, and maybe that would be along the side also. So I don't know if that helps.
On the driveway seating, there was a question about circulation and how you'd get around those seats. And so I think that here, the idea is that, we would leave it mostly open. We are taking out the planting bed along the side. We could look at the idea of having like box planters, to kind of delineate occasionally, the space between the building, the dining area, and the walkway. But there's this brick paveway is really, that's the typical walkway, and we're not reducing. Eric, can you confirm? Eric Rains, can you confirm? We're not reducing the width of the walkway by much, because we're just cutting it back a bit to the line of the existing coach lamp lights. We're not moving the coach lamp lights.
That's exactly right. Yes.
We did not show in this drawing, there was a question about lighting along the driveway. We did not show lighting along the driveway, and we think the coach lamp lights are sufficient, but one thing we would like to explore, and I think that, our idea is to maybe just see how this looks when it's installed, if it's approved. We love the outdoor dining between, I guess, the new Glen Liquors and Senna with the strung lights there. And we think that the catenary lights that David and Jim hung along the post road were just so beautiful. They created such a nice setting. We'd like to look at the idea of maybe running some lights, down the side as well. But we can come back to you with a subsequent application on that, after we see how this all comes together and what it looks like. We could even put them up temporarily just to see what they look like. And if they were acceptable, we'd leave them up, but we can kind of play that by ear. We agree with Dave Riley, Commissioner Riley, that takeout will probably become a permanent feature of the restaurant. And we think that the way this is set up, it actually works pretty well. This table, one of these tables might have to go because this is a doorway here, but the existing operation has worked really well and served the restaurant and the community extremely well from almost zero pre-COVID. Question from Commissioner Lopatinsky about the possibility of adding greenery along the driveway. As I said, I think we could kind of consider some planter boxes that would create a little separation, visual separation, and a sense of separateness from the walkway and the driveway. And if you'd like us to come back with a proposal for that, with an actual material selection, we can do that. A question from Commissioner Morrison. She was hopeful that we wished that we could have tied this in and had a pergola structure that kind of ran the entirety of the driveway area. We looked at that a couple of years ago. We actually looked at doing this, something like this about, I think Jim Sullivan could remind me, but I think it was like 3 years ago. And we kind of pulled in the reins a little bit. It was a little too aggressive and too ambitious. We looked at the cost of this. It was really significant. And honestly, it also starts to get really tight because then the pergola requires, the posts and additional kind of mounting. And we thought that might be a bit of an overreach. As well, keep in mind that this is sort of temporary, seasonal seating. And to put that on the side, it just seemed too much to us. So we kind of like the idea of umbrella tables along the driveway and the pergola structure in the back. Question about adding a French door in the middle. That wouldn't be feasible because that's sort of in the middle of the dining room. We think, the distance that people would travel here is fine between their ability to enter from the rear or from the front entrance, and the bathroom is just about here. So, from here through or from here through, we don't think that's a concern. Okay, a question about covering. I think Jim Sullivan answered that. And David or maybe Eric Rains could specifically comment on that. I might actually not have been a part of that conversation. So, Eric, were you thinking that maybe one portion of this would have protection from?
Primarily, what we would do is rely on the canopy of the trees to provide shade. The thinking of the tree selection would be something like there's a tree that's a yellow wood that has a fairly dense, when it's leafed out, it's a fairly dense shade. But the mention of something like bamboo could be used along that southern edge. David, if you go to the renderings, you'll see all the cross members that plan view doesn't show. So if you go over to the left, so you see that those cross members through the trees in the top of the pergola. So if we did add a shade element, bamboo would be an excellent material to use. My suggestion would be to use it along that southern edge so that the angle of the sun casts the shadow the farthest into the area. But at this point, the thinking is that the canopy of the trees, as they mature, would provide the shade that would give the option to either sit in the shade or have a little bit more sun.
Thanks, Eric. There was a question from Commissioner Green about the idea of a fence along the driveway. And again, in the same way, we really wanted to kind of keep it more open. And I think the idea is also that, people are kind of walking down the sidewalk, going to the back and maybe interacting with friends. And so it's sort of open but closed. It's not totally impermeable. Question from Commissioner McCauley on the material for the pergola. Eric, where are we shaking out on that? Is it?
We want to use a wood, something like a fir or potentially ipe for some of it, but we want it to be a wood that would in its natural state would weather out to be a gray color. We're not talking about painting it or sealing it to prevent it from aging. So, it would be just a wood, something other than pressure treated pine that would weather out to be a gray silver color over time.
Yeah, this we debated for a while, and the pergola behind Baldanza is a painted white by Walpole. We didn't want to. We agonized over, or I agonized over, should we match that or do something that contrasts with that? And the conclusion that we collectively came to was that we should contrast it, which I actually really like. And the way that this building is set up with the passageway between the two halves or the two sections of it, a lot of people actually think it's two buildings. It kind of reads like two buildings from the rear. So we actually think, having those be different even strengthens that idea further. So that was the thinking on the material selection. tree list and are we removing trees? Eric, I can't recall. Are we replanting those trees, or they do have to be moved, right?
Yes, they do. These, and they're smaller scale trees. They're trees that would serve us better are, like I mentioned, yellowwood that has a larger canopy over time, similar to what's shown in the rendering. Because the trees that are there, they need to be. They won't work with the expansion of the terrace, and they're smaller scale trees. They won't provide the shade that.
By the way, also I would add in the category of like you learn from your mistakes in the past. I have for 13 years hated these lamps, these outdoor lamps. The landscape architect we worked with when we designed 1020 Post somehow snuck those by me, and I've hated them for 13 years. And so I'm going to do a jig when we tear them out because they are just so incongruous with the design of this building and unfitting of it, I think. So those will happily go away. Question.
Sorry, Dave, I thought you got through it. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I have a couple more. Another couple questions from Commissioner McCauley. Could we put ivy along the fence? Eric, that's probably one for you, or Jim, or David.
I would suggest, I would certainly agree with the plant at the base of along the fence. Maybe not ivy in particular, but certainly a ground cover along the base would benefit. We would benefit from that just to soften the way the pergola meets the ground.
And then the question of grass versus planting beds. Eric, that's probably also a good one for you.
Yeah, and what we've shown is more shrub, or these shrubs that where you enter the terrace there. Thinking like it's something flowering, hydrangea of some sort, and the sightline point is a good one, just to make sure that whatever it is doesn't get into individual lines. But yeah, the thought is that on this edge we would have flowering shrubs as you enter the terrace, and then on the other edge, the walkway that leads to the street would be the same flowering shrub.
And then the last question came from Commissioner Castell. Well, it was more of a comment. She liked the trees, felt it gave this some significance and importance. We agree with that. We like the idea of larger trees there rather than what's in place today. Those were all of the questions that I took down. I don't know if I missed anything.
Liz Geiger here, Chairman. I'm going to give maybe a couple board members a chance to respond here. I can kind of summarize this up, but the bottom line is it looks like we're going to see this one more time here. You need a couple more details, but so you guys have a clear marching order. Do any ARB members want to respond, and maybe call on Leslie McCauley to go first, and she is our landscape architect, and we'll have probably exact recommendations for you guys as we develop this plan for landscape.
Leslie McCauley, ARB member. Just want to remind you that you have the parking lot tree list of trees to choose from those trees. And also, I'm concerned that the shrubs, the hydrangeas, if they're not less than 3 feet tall, will be a problem. Where you have them now, where the woman's coming out from the takeout, as far as small children being seen along that corner. Also, where you have the split rail fence, you're not showing in reality that you're going to have to cut the grass underneath that split rail fence, and so there will be a planting bed. I think that if you do plant ivy, it's going to ground the space. Also keep litter from the restaurant from escaping, and or the parking lot litter from coming into the eating area. I'd like to see a plant list as well. And that's it. Thank you.
Any other ARB members? No. Okay, let me see if I can summarize real quickly here. Looks like we need to see this again, but the main takeaway is you got a very positive report. It is not a favorable report. We're not going to issue anything at this point in time. We're going to have you guys come back at our next meeting, but we're really excited about what you're doing here. We need to see a landscape plan that includes all the details of the actual trees, what trees are being removed, what's are being replanted. If you guys are proposing planters, please provide the details of what those materials are, where those will be exactly. In addition to that, we need to see a lighting schematic. I know this is a plan and development, David Genovese, you mentioned, but whatever you know ahead of time for the pergola, for the side, put the materials out there so we can start thinking about it. So it kind of keeps things moving along. That also lends to this idea of keeping, you know, one of our members suggested the pergola continuing along the sidewalk there. If you guys aren't going to do some sort of element, do we need to see on that side, whether it is plantings or treatment along the walls there of planting, or, you know, or lighting, whatever you guys decide. But that seems to be an element that still needs to be addressed. So that isn't a forgotten space. I think that's it. I guess just seeing the details of your lighting and your planting. One question I did have for you guys is about the bar that was never addressed. It looks like I see some sort of drawing for some sort of bar level there. I don't know if that needs to be addressed now or we can come back later, but I'd be curious to see that flushed out, those details.
Great.
Because I like a bar.
It's not so much a bar as it is lounge seating. So what we're trying to do is create a different kind of setting. So the idea, if I go to here, is for like a banquet, you know, a long bench style seating, and then chairs with small tables. So it's more of a different venue. It's not an actual bar per se, but it's a place that you might go to have a drink before dinner or after dinner outside, mixing it up from the typical table. It's very South Beach.
Liz Geiger here.
We're trying to
I
go
love
South
Liz Geiger here, yes. Well, it looks onto the kitchen, which is very trendy these days, right? To watch your meal being made. This is great. I'm sorry we're not at a point where we're issuing a full favorable report. I don't think you probably were expecting that, Dave, with kind of the outstanding things, but we'll go in tandem with planning and zoning here while you work on your approval. And it looks great, though. The direction you guys are going is great. The board seems really excited about this.
May I ask the question? You know, I want to ask the question because one of the things that we're trying to do is we're going to try to open in April or March or May rather with this done. So our timetable is pretty tight. So what we'd like to do is, you know, we filed everything with zoning already. What we'd like to be able to say to zoning, if it would be okay with you, is that, you know, in concept, you like the idea. We have some details to work out around material selection, plant list, and you know, design along the driveway, but I think I'm hearing a relatively overall favorable view. Just give us more details. Would it be okay? And maybe Dave Keating would have a better view of this. Would it be okay if we could advance to zoning with a statement like that, and we can be on your next agenda with all the details?
I'll work out with you on the side, David Keating. I'm not going to put out a full favorable report because we still have stuff we need to see and it will depend it, but I'll work out some sort of positive thing to Albany and crew about how we are behind this. We love where you're going. We just need to see the details of the lighting and the plantings.
Okay,
the landscape
that's fair
plan.
enough.
Sound good?
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Let's talk offline about what language works.
And just so that you know, we're also having the same kind of a conversation with Bodega about an enhanced outdoor dining experience that will be totally different. And that's a little bit more complicated because they used during COVID they used parking spaces in the municipal lot, which is under the control of the Board of Selectmen. So we're actually on the Board of Selectmen agenda for that. Then we would come to you if it seems acceptable with a concept and then zoning. So we'll be doing a couple of these to try to really, you know, enhance the outdoor dining experience for residents of Darien and customers of Darien restaurants.
Liz Geiger here. I love it.
If you want to see what Bodega, if you want to see what Bodega has in mind, also just Google Gitano, New York City. It's very cool, and the Garden of Love. It's a very cool outdoor dining venue that they want to kind of copy.
All right, sorry, I was Googling that. Liz Geiger here. Okay, David, yeah, it goes without saying, we love seeing you and Kate. You guys do such a terrific job. We really are supportive of everything you guys are doing here. So can't wait to kind of finalize these details and keep this moving. So we'll give definitely P&Z as positive as a letter as we can right now without the final issue here. So this is great.
Understand.
I'm so happy for you guys.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Eric. Okay, guys, we got to move along fast here. We got limited time tonight, less than an hour here. ARB 04, we got Palmer's Market at 264 Heights Road. Please introduce yourself. Give us a summary of your proposal.
Sure. Can you hear me? Oh, Liz, can you hear me? Okay.
Yep,
My name is David Stowe. I'm here presenting on behalf of Palmer's Market, and I'm working with Cindy Dean Palmer over there. I'm from Alpha Graphics in Stamford, and we deal with a lot of their print and signage needs. So this is to get permission to install some temporary historical graphics. What Palmer's is looking to do, it's their 100-year anniversary, and they wanted to put up some historical images from their 100-year history in their windows with window perf. Window perf is it's a two-way adhesive substrate. People on the inside see out completely clear, and people on the outside, when they're looking, just see the images. There's not going to be any kind of signage with Palmer's written on it or any kind of advertising or promotional. This is strictly a temporary thing. They'd like to have it up from now until, if they get approval, until the end of the year, and at which time they'll be taken down at the end of the year. So it will not go through beyond calendar year 2021. I supplied documents. I think everybody has them in front of them. So the first page on that is basically showing there's two sides to the building. One is the main entrance that's the top image with 3 windows. And I just put the full frontage image in there below it. And then the second one is their frontage, which is actually the side of the building, but which kind of faces Heights Road. That one, I had said, they had initially told me they wanted to do 3 windows there, but they're actually now saying they want to do 6. So just make a note of that. Initially, it was going to be the 3 middle windows, but now they're saying they want to do the 3 on the left as well as the 3 middle windows. So when you move on to the second page of the presentation, it just shows a close-up of the window. And then the third page actually shows a sample of the type of image that they'd like to put there. The fourth page of it just shows all the elevations. Each window is broken into 9 individual panes. And then I also included on the next page just some aerial shots to show where it is in relation to Heights Road. 95 is just south of that. There's no real residential or other visibility issues that would come up there. And the majority of this is going to be simply seen from their parking areas. It's really not too visible from any other public areas for the most part. And then also what I did on the next page, I included a sample image of, we actually have some of the window perf on our front door, just giving you the view of what it would be from the outside. Obviously their imagery would be different, and then seeing clearly through it from the front. I also included a spec sheet from the material that we were proposing to use because it's winter right now. Most adhesive vinyls do not work well for installation below 50 degrees. However, the Innova Ice substrate that we plan on using is good to install from 0 degrees Fahrenheit on up, so there's no issues with that. And basically that's a quick synopsis of it. I don't know if anybody has any questions or any specifics about what we're planning on doing.
Liz Geiger here. David, that was fantastic. Way to move quickly and keep it succinct. That was tremendous. Good job. All right, we're going to go through here, starting off with Dave Riley.
Okay, Dave Riley, Architectural Review Board. Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Pretty much around the corner from Palmer's, so frequent visitor, so it'd be nice to see these images. I guess because it gets into more of just the basic zoning question, and the graphics question is, we have this rule about the coverage of the windows, but since this is a temporary installation, whether that circumvents that particular rule, I would look toward the zoning enforcement officer to speak to that. Notwithstanding, I'm a little confused about the windows along Heights Road, exactly which ones would be have the material applied. We have looking at the page with the photographs on it, you have the 3 windows on the extreme left, and then there's the Palmer sign which partially covers one of those one of the windows, and then 4 windows past that. If it's covering 6 of the windows, I'm just a little confused as to what kind of balance will it be achieved there? And also the fact that the 5 windows on the right side of that facade on the second floor have an opaque material on the lower panes. So, which leads into the question is, if this material is being applied, I assume from the outside, if you could clarify that, then will that have an adverse effect on how it's viewed, both from the interior and exterior? From the interior, you're only going to see the top portion of, well, actually, you won't see anything, so never mind that. But from the exterior, will it have any sort of adverse effect on how the material is viewed? Will it have like a dark bottom and then a lit up top? And will the backlighting from the interior illumination of the store, does that have an impact on how that is going to be transmitted through? So that to me is my major concern about expanding the number of windows along Heights Road. Otherwise, I think it will be a really interesting and kind of nostalgic approach when going into the market. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Alex Lopatinsky, ARB member. I had the same concern about sort of the light filtering through on the windows that have all exposed glazing versus the ones that are not. So if you can clarify which ones get the signage. And the other concern I have is if you do extend the temporary signs to sort of the corner windows all the way through and make that corner feel opaque, how is that going to feel during the day and as you arrive to the building? Because right now the transparency into the store, you can see life. You close that off, what does that feel like? To me, it's as much as it's an interesting signage for the outside, it's also becomes a solid wall. I've seen these graphics installed. You've seen them on New York City buses covered, right? So, and it looks just like a big block you can't see in. So I do have a concern about that. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Rebecca Morrison, ARB member. I had the same question as David about just is it something that we can do because it is temporary and not permanent? And then the only other question I have, or David, it would be nice to see the images. You showed an example of one, but I'd really like to see how they speak with each other. I know that they're all different, but it would be nice to see a full mock-up. That's it.
Allison Hughes, ARB member. I would be a strong supporter of this application. I think it's one of the things that makes Darien the kind of town it is, that we might allow something like this. I agree with Dave that it's very nostalgic, and I guess that's probably my thing, I guess, but I look forward to seeing it.
Terry Green, ARB member. My questions were already addressed, and I also would like to ditto what Allison said. I think this is a very charming way of celebrating 100 years. I know that they have some photos inside that are people that I knew years and years ago here, and I think it's fun to bring this all to the attention of people for their 100th anniversary. And I'll look forward to the answers on the window coverings. Thank you.
Leslie McCauley, ARB member. I have no additional questions. Looks good. Thank you.
Sean Brown from the ARB. I don't have any additional comments. Thanks.
Oh, sorry. I had one question about the style of the windows. You have one picture here, which looks like it's smaller and it has the curved top, but it's missing the mountain underneath. Are they all identical size to the ones that you show in the first? Are they all the same size, exact windows? It's just it shows differently in the drawings.
Mary Ann's done. David Humphrey, ARB, no additional comments.
Sorry, I didn't say
Ms.
goodbye.
Geiger here. Marion, can you go on mute for me one more time? Dave Keating, would you like a chance to respond now? Would you like to wait about the time frame for temporary signage?
Dave Keating, Assistant Director of Planning. There's no real provision in the zoning regulations for something like this, but this is very unique. And these are not really advertising signs as much as they are just aesthetic graphics. And even, for example, if one of the old pictures showed the original founders in front of the original building and it said Palmer Supermarket as part of the old picture, I wouldn't consider that really a sign. So I think it makes perfect sense to review and act on this and know that it's just a temporary recognition of the 100th anniversary of the store.
Ms. Geiger here. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. And what we'll probably do, ARB members, is kind of put a timestamp on here and remind when we do approval letter, as David mentioned, it'll just be for the year. So we'll put a timestamp on that. So it's part of the application. David, I'm going to let you respond to every member here. I have one question for you. I know you said there's going to be no copy. I did wonder if somewhere and on one of the windows in the graphics that you would somehow say 100th anniversary to kind of show what you're doing. So I'd love you to answer that. And I will tell you, it sounds like that across the board, we're going to need to see a full mock-up of this before we can give an official report, but go ahead and answer some questions here.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for the questions. I'll move through them as quick as I can. With respect to the windows on Heights roads and which specific ones, when I went to view it initially, I was working with Cindy Dean Palmer, and she was actually out because she had some kind of medical procedure. So I was working with her assistant. Her assistant showed me just 3 windows specifically when Cindy actually wanted to do the full facade. Sorry if I was a little confusing when I was describing it. So they did want to do all of the windows along the Heights Road, facing Heights Road. As far as the 3 windows on the left on that, and then versus the 5 windows on the right, those are actually half walls on the inside of the building. So there's nothing actually, there's no graphic or any kind of opaque application to the windows themselves. When we're talking about how that is going to appear with light coming through, during the daytime, there'll be virtually no discernible difference because the way window perf works is it deals with ambient light both from the inside and from the outside. So in daylight, there's going to be a good balance of light on the inside and the outside. So you'll just kind of see the graphic. At nighttime, there would be some light coming through the upper portions of that. But what we did plan on doing for that is for those upper portions of the graphic, when we print them, we were going to print the upper portions slightly darker. That way that would compensate for no light coming through during the nighttime on the lower half wall portion of that. The outside, let's see, the other one. Oh, someone had a question about how it looking kind of like a wall if we put that graphic there. Well, from the inside, window perf, obviously you see through and there is some light. There also is some light that comes through very minor, at a very minor way during the daytime as well. So it won't seem like just a completely opaque wall. There will be, it'll be lighter than that around it. Plus each of the windows has 9 panes that are made up of it. And there's an 1 3/4 aluminum frame that breaks that up. So it will kind of break it up. It's not like it's going to be a solid wall, but they'll be much more viewable as kind of 7 panes on each window. All the windows are identical. I think the difference that you saw is on the part of the building facing out towards Heights Road. The 4th window from the left has the Palmer sign. That's a permanent sign that's already there. That's just covering up the arched part of that. So we would not apply graphics to the upper 3 panes on that one. We would only apply graphics to the 6 panes that are visible below that. Alex, you had a specific question about the 100-year, having some kind of imagery on there commemorating the 100 years. They do have a 100-year logo that they designed specifically for this year to commemorate the anniversary, and we can certainly incorporate that, maybe into the center pane of like the center window on both sides. And then with respect to showing you a full mock-up, we can certainly do that. They hadn't selected all the images they wanted to use because they wanted to see if they were going to get permission to do it first before then putting the effort into select, because they have about 100 photos they were going to select from. But I can tell them that we can put in a mock-up together for you this week based on the fact that you want to see that to decide on the, to make a final determination. And I think that answered all the questions. Did I miss anything?
Ms. Geiger here. I think that's great. Any other ARB members want to comment before I summarize? Dave Riley?
Yeah, I have a comment on the number of images. While I think it would be nice enough to have every window along Heights Road to have images on it, I think there's such a strong corner presence of the 3 windows and the 3 windows wrapping the corner. To me, from a design standpoint, that would be a stronger statement and would actually give a little bit more focus to the images. I think 6 images, historic images, would be more than ample in terms of conveying the nostalgia. And also there would be, there's that, consistency aspect of, what you would describe as, these minor differences in the way the graphic is shown. But the architecture of the building has these 3 windows wrapping the corner. In my mind, that seems to lend itself to driving the application of these historic photos. And I would not put them on those 5 windows with the half wall behind them. I think that would actually detract from it in some way. So that is my comment on
Would you like us to submit a mock-up both ways?
I think that would be helpful.
Okay,
yeah,
that's not a problem.
It could convince me otherwise, but
okay.
Currently, my thought on it is that the corner is the stronger statement, and it brings you to the entrance of the building, and that's really where your focus is on when you're approaching the building.
Right. Well, that's what I thought it was going to be initially, but then they changed. I had a different interpretation when I met with her assistant than when I spoke to her afterwards.
Understood. Yeah.
But we can certainly get mock-ups and get PDFs in your hands unless you prefer printouts, this week.
Liz Geiger here, Chairman. David, we're going to see mock-ups at our next meeting. Unfortunately, something we need to all review and discuss. So like you said, I'm just summarize here. The board seems to be in favor of this, and I agree with Allison Hughes, what she said, that it makes our town unique that we can support projects like this, especially for 100-year-old businesses. So I also really love the idea. Put together a mock-up, 2 versions, like you said, at least would be great. Give us some options so we can see what you don't like, what you do like, and give us, stuff to compare. That always helps facilitate things. And we will see you at our March meeting. You can work with Dave Keating in Planning and Zoning to get on that agenda immediately.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time, David.
Thank you.
Okay. Guys, moving on fast. We've got ARB 05 2021 Dynamic Martial Arts. I need a very quick intro by the applicant, and then the ARB members will start asking.
Sure. I'm David Genovese, Baywater Properties. Joining me tonight is Kate Perez on our team as well. This is a different application which relates to our Corbin project. We came to you earlier in the year for an application to relocate Mathnasium from Corbin Drive to the space formerly occupied by Coldplay Cryotherapy. That was approved. Into the details on that now. This tenant, Dynamic Martial Arts. I think you should mute. Maybe it's a little. I could hear the paper. Yep. This tenant, Dynamic Martial Arts, is the other tenant in that Corbin Drive building, which we will be hopefully knocking down next month. And we have secured a great space for Dynamic Martial Arts above NOLA Physical Therapy on the Boston Post Road. This property, 1570 and 1574 Boston Post Road, is owned by NOLA Physical Therapy. They occupy the first floor of the building, and there is almost a book-matched building on the other side of the parking lot, which is 100% occupied by Linda Mood Bell. I'm going to turn this over to Kate because she's more articulate than me, and she can present to you the details of this particular application. And she's less verbose, which is great.
This is Kate Perez from Baywater Properties. I don't know if that's true, but I'm happy to present this one. I'm just pulling up the application on my screen.
Oh, sorry, I had it on the screen, but I wasn't sharing. I apologize.
Oh, no worries.
There you go, Kate.
Okay, great. So we are looking at 1074, we're looking at 1070 Boston Post Road, the existing NOLA physical therapy building. And this is an existing conditions shot of, what is there today. There's a NOLA physical therapy sign facing the post road on the building facade. And you can actually see in the background on the gray toned building in the background, you can see the small sign for the tenant of that 1074 building. We can go to the next slide. And so this is showing the proposed signage for the new tenant, Dynamic Martial Arts. And I think, as David mentioned, this also went through zoning as a special permit for use in this building. They would go on the second floor, actually in the space right located above both of these signs. And the intention was to stay in the style of the existing NOLA sign that's there today, with a thin frame around the edges, a white background, and the Dynamic Martial Arts signage and logo. And, I think the intention is to have the background is white. The way the image reads, it's a little bit bright against the white building background, but, the intention is that it would all it would be a little bit more probably muted white than what we're looking at right now. So this application includes two signs. The second sign shows up here on the site plan and gives you a sense of the layout. So at the upper end of this red sort of enclosed area is the 1070 building, NOLA Physical Therapy. And then the gray building is in the lower, more southern portion of the site. So the intention is to, or proposed monument sign is intended to go at the entrance to the shared parking lot between the two buildings, sort of on the south edge there. This is the proposed monument sign, in dark sort of charcoal gray, a lighter gray tone, and then some white lettering at the top with the address. The sign is intended to be oriented perpendicular to traffic. So, whichever way you're going on the post road, you're seeing this sign and it's visible in advance of needing to take a left or a right into that entrance to the parking lot. And this lists both the tenants of 1070 and 1570 and 1574. And this is a street view sort of looking at that sign. If you are headed on the post road out of the center of town, in the direction of the Y, looking at the gray, closer to the gray building there. And then the last image is sort of the reverse view of if you're headed, towards the downtown, more in the north direction. And we thought a lot about the placement of this sign and the best spot. It is a bit of a distance from the white building, but in terms of functionality and making sure that drivers know where to enter this parking lot, we thought being close to the parking lot entrance was probably the best solution. And I think that's a wrap. We'll keep it succinct.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Dave. This guy right here. Thanks, guys. I'm going to ask you guys about the exact material for both signs. So add that to your question list. Dave Riley.
Dave Riley, Architectural Review Board. If you could write the exact material for each sign, I would appreciate it. So my comment has more to do with the wall sign and I think a lot of people may have already picked up on this, is the name of the business Dynamic Martial Arts, and is Family Center part of that, part of the name of the business, or is that additional text that would not be specifically allowed? Another question is on the monument sign. I don't see any indication of it being lit, and I guess his question is, would it be lit, and if so, how? If not, then that's fine. So those are my two questions, or three questions. Thank you.
Alex Oberfinski, ARB member. I have a question about the monument sign and its location. If you can clarify for me, is this the only curb cut into the parking lot shared by the two buildings? And have you studied the location of the monument sign in reference to that curb cut to make sure that it's not blocking any sight lines for cars pulling out of the parking lot? And all of the other questions that I had have been asked already. Thank you. Looks good.
Rebecca Morrison, ARB members. My two questions, they're a little bit different, but I know NOLA is on the bottom floor and Dynamic is on the top floor. Have you ever thought about switching the two so that one really speaks to one direction and one speaks to the other? I don't think it's a big deal, but it's just a question. And then also, since it's 1540 and 1574, I think the monument sign looks great, but I can't see from the picture whether there's the address is actually on the side of the building where you walk in, so that you definitely know that the 1540 is the white building or the black building. And I think that would be really helpful as well. That's it.
Allison Hughes, ARB, board member. I know you said that you tried to make the two wall signs harmonious, but to me, they could be more harmonious, I think. And I agree with David Riley about the extra copy of the Dynamic art sign. Also, the logo seems to be a little bit outsized for the sign.
Carrie Green, ARB member. My questions have been asked. I am concerned about the visibility surrounding the monument sign, so and the placement in relation to it. Thank you.
Leslie McCall, ARB member. I just had one thing that hasn't been touched on. I'm wondering if you put the names on the monument sign in alphabetical order. That's it. Thank you.
Sean Brown from the ARB. One of our other members beat me to the punch on the number on the building. But otherwise, it looks good. Thanks.
Marion Castell, ARB. I think all my questions have been asked as well.
David Humphrey, ARB. Yeah, my question's been addressed. Thank you.
Liz Geiger here. Okay, go for it, Kate.
Okay, great. So on the signage materials, the wall sign and the monument sign, I may have to follow up with you on the materials. I actually would prefer to get those from the sign manufacturer just to make sure that we're sort of answering this in the right way. The existing NOLA sign, I believe it may even be a wood sign, and we would want to match the existing NOLA sign that's there. So I may have to follow up on the materials just because I don't have, I want to just be 100% sure on those details. The question about dynamic martial arts, the business name versus additional text, I know has been has come up on a number of applications, and I know is a discussion that comes up. It comes up again and again. We can look at the dynamic martial arts official business name, and if that's if that the martial arts family center is part of their business name. I know that this is part of their current signage in their existing space on 15 Corbin Drive, and understanding that that's an older sign and may have been under different regulations at that time. I do, I understand that that it is, the preference not to have language outside of the business name. And, we can talk to dynamic martial arts about that. In this particular case, I feel like it's helpful to understand the business use, at least the martial arts portion, and then the family center maybe is something that is less related to the use. And then jumping down to, is the monument sign lit? The intention would be for the monument sign to be lit, and I don't think we have that completely detailed, but we're imagining an uplight in the planting area to sort of cast a light on the surface of the sign on both sides. So that would be the intention. Is this the only curb cut to the parking lot? This is the only curb cut to the parking lot, and it's a little bit tricky because the property to the north of this, the Stamford Health building, has a curb cut right to the north of the NOLA white building. And personally, I never knew which parking was for which building, and have learned through this ARB application that the shared parking lot in between this white and gray building is intended to be used by both of these buildings. But that's sort of the reason why we were pushing the monument sign closer to that entrance and exit, because I think probably people do unintentionally park in the Stamford Health parking lot adjacent to the NOLA building. Would the monument sign block sight lines? That's a good point, and something that we can absolutely look at, of the distance off the sidewalk. Is it a few feet off the sidewalk, or does it need to be an additional foot off the sidewalk to kind of make sure that a car that's nosing out is able to be seen? And I think we can adjust the monument location as needed to make sure that from a safety perspective, that everybody can see, who's coming in and coming out. Should the two signs swap, the NOLA and the dynamic martial arts? Personally, I like the NOLA sign on the top, but I understand what you're saying programmatically. It could be nice to have the signs adjacent to where the tenants actually are. And we could very easily look.
Kate, I'm going to jump in on that one.
Yeah.
David, Genevieve's here. I mean, the one thing I think we kind of experienced in negotiating this signage with the property, between the property owner and dynamic martial arts, is that the property owner is NOLA, and he was pretty adamant that his sign be at the top and his sign be a little larger than the dynamic martial arts. So I think it's a little bit of a, owner kind of requirement. Not that we agree with it, but that's what we got.
Yep, this is Kate Perez from Baywater Properties. This is an unusual application for us because we're not the property owner of the building. So, it's a coordinated effort, but everybody's excited about the move. So everybody's working in the right direction. And then, are the addresses on the side of the building? The 1574 address is on the corner of the gray building up high, probably 10 feet off the ground, 12 feet off the ground. So it is clearly visible from the street and parking lot. The white NOLA building also has a sign. I think it's a little lower down. It might be right at the window at the entrance. If that's something that you'd like to see more visible, you know, we can look at that on the, you know, the address being posted more visibly on the white building. Is the logo outsized for the sign, the dynamic martial arts logo? You know, I think the rendering may be because of the sort of the punchy red color and the way the, you know, a fresh rendering reads, you know, it is a little bit more jumping out. The letters are 8 inches. And, you know, where this is on the post road with a primarily driving crew, you know, I think that it's important to be able to see, you know, at a higher speed of 35, you know, to have people looking for this be able to see it. And that's why we kind of went to the upper end of this, you know, 12 square feet range that's allowed for, I guess, a special permit use, because just because of that driving factor of really, you know, it's less of a pedestrian, more of a driving zone. Placement of the monument sign in relation to the building, I think we talked about. Can the tenants be in alphabetical order? I would just want to double check that.
Kind of relates to my point, David Genovese here, about the owner's perspective and NOLA's perspective. I think he, again, wants to be at the top.
Yeah, and you know, the other piece of it is I think NOLA is a much, you know, that's a big space. They occupy the entire first floor of that building, and I think it's relatively busy. You know, I always see, you know, people in that facility kind of through the big windows, and so, you know, they're kind of the anchor tenant of that building, and I sort of understand the owner's perspective there. If I missed anything else, please let me know. That I just ran through the list of questions I had.
Liz Geiger here. Thanks, Kate. That's great. I think you guys answered most of our questions. Maybe the number on the building, but I think there is one on the side of NOLA. You just can't see it here. Correct? Oh, and the alphabetical order of the businesses on the monument sign.
Yep, this is Kate Perez from Baywater Properties. On the alphabetical order, I think, you know, to David's point on the owner of both buildings being NOLA, I think, and being the sort of the largest tenant of this complex, I think they prefer to be at the top of the, you know, the monument sign list, just so, and fairly, I think they have the most traffic coming by. So that's sort of the reason for them being at the top of that list rather than everything being alphabetical.
Okay, Liz Geiger here. That's great. All right, so it sounds like we need to see you guys again, Kate, which I think you and Dave were expecting. Some of the things that when you come back, one of my questions was about the size of the sign as well. Like, why aren't the two signs matching in size and width and height? And you agreed. You guys explained that. Again, I think as a board, we're kind of thinking it looks a little odd, dynamic, especially if one of the building, the other one is on top. But all right, you can let them know. I'll probably put that in my letter, so they know and you don't feel the need to translate it. But I think the business on top should have a sign on top and vice versa. The other things, though, to come back with in your comments are confirming the official name of the business. This is a common theme for us today, you and me. The other one is the materials and also the lighting scheme. Any other board members want to comment before? No. All right. Kate, David, thank you guys so much. I'm sorry we didn't get any final here, but I think we're in a good place with both these things.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Guys, on March 16th.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
ARB members, we are moving on. It is 6:52 p.m. and we have got a hard cutoff in 15 minutes. So how this is going to work is we are going to let Dave Humphrey's going to take over here, and we are going to let BMW present. Unfortunately, because of our limited time frame tonight, we are not going to get a chance to comment on BMW. So what I'm going to have to do is move our comments to March 16th. And in the meantime, I'll put Dave on, and hopefully BMW can give us a great final presentation for all their hard work here. And we will finalize this in our March meeting. But Dave Humphrey, when you're ready, I'll throw you on. And FYI, board members, I am going to hop on at 7:10 latest and cut us off because we are going to lose our feed here. So just FYI.
Thanks, Liz. David Humphrey, ARB. So unfortunately, like Liz said, we're running up to a hard cutoff here. But we received, the updated documentation. We have looked through it. There's been a couple changes. That would be great to hear from you what those are while we're all together, as well as run through the highlights of the changes. We'll use the time that we have to do that. Everybody at this point, should have reviewed this packet, so I think we're familiar with most of this. But take it away so we can use the 15 minutes that we have.
Mike Kozlowski is going to do this, so Mike, our architect, will present.
Share the screen. All right. Good evening, ARB members. Thank you for hearing us. Just quickly, BMW Darien. This is the existing plan. Again, this is the proposed site plan. I'm going to skip right to the updated car wash renderings. Hopefully, you guys got a chance to see all the materials in our packet. The quick change that was requested of us from last meeting was to make a more consistent use of the black ACM. So we have the trim at the top and the ACM panels in the middle, all the same color instead of two different tones of gray or dark gray. We actually feel that this does look pretty good. It again ties our showroom building in with the service building and acts as the intermediary between the three structures on the property. What you'll notice is the big change. You can kind of see it behind the car wash facility here. Is the drastic look change of the service building. We decided to go with the more residential materials. I'm going to go right to the renderings. So we have a James Hardy pearl gray siding on the top half trimmed out with white AZEK. That would be where the parts and the second floor storage would be. And then back here on the back half of the service building, we went from the Trespa wood look, had a fence kind of feel to it, to a more mansard looking roof, asphalt shingles. We think that, again, this complements the neighbor's residential aesthetic. Also, it does bring down the scale of the building, as the roof line from the rear, as you'll see in a couple renderings, does appear to start lower, while still maintaining the 10-foot high barrier that will act as a sound barrier as well as a visual barrier for lights. I'm going to quickly just go back. We did omit the green screening, as Katie Haas's landscape sections will show. We feel that they were not visible from anybody except for the people parking on the roof, so we did omit those. We've also provided you guys with the updated mechanical plan here with mechanical specs as requested by the last meeting. I'm not going to get into all the details of that. Here again, this is the updated wall section through the ramp and the mansard roof. So you'll see here we have the top half asphalt shingle roof, double insulated now, so that will help even more with the sound traveling through towards the neighbors from any cars or noises from activities on the roof. And then we do still have a small area of Trespa panel at the top of the ramp. It breaks up, as you'll see in the renderings, the long mansard roof. It also provides a solid wall for sound and light transmission. Again, right here at the top rendering here, you see the Trespa panels, breaks up the mansard roof. And then these are the views, the alternate views from the back side of the service department on the roof. We'll have Hardy siding as well back here, more residential feel. And then this is the updated rendering from coming up the ramp. At the top of the ramp, you can see the trespass panel to the left and the mansard roof here to the right in the middle of the screen. These renderings are very similar. They're slightly updated from the last month's presentation. You could see in the distance where last month you would see the trespass panels through the trees. Right now you see it's a little harder to see the black asphalt shingle roof, and then the arborvitae, which Katie I know is going to speak to shortly. These again, same thing, updated with the building behind the existing condos from the far side of the Middlesex condos. Updated renderings with, you can see the mansard roof slightly there, but updated renderings. So I'm going to move it on to, and then of course the finish board. We have the pearl gray siding here. Oops, sorry. The ground face block, the asphalt shingles that have been added as the new finishes for the exterior of the service building. Again, example of the ground face CMU block that is going to be used in a larger scale picture. Go ahead, Katie.
Thanks, Mike. Good evening, everybody. My name is Katie Haas. I'm from William Kenny Associates. I'm a licensed landscape architect in Connecticut, and I'll be talking about the lighting and landscaping. Just to jump through, we discussed the existing lighting study last time, so we'll just skip that one, Mike, if we can. Talk about we could just go back to the proposed, lighting plan. Just to reiterate, this was shown on our drawings last time, but all of the proposed fixtures are sampled on the right-hand side of the screen. All of the pole-mounted and wall-mounted fixtures are shown. If you go to the next screen. It was requested that we include this image in our package, which we had included. It shows a sample image of what the full cutoff light fixtures would look like. As you can see in this image, no light is cast above 90 degrees above the fixture, and you can see it's pretty dark up from looking above down. Next image. Regarding the lighting plan, it was requested that we use the spruce trees from the approved Darien tree list in lieu of the green giant arborvitae. We took a closer look at the commercial design guidelines and noticed that there were 3 types of trees proposed within the treescape section. There's street trees, landscape trees, and parking lot trees. The proposed planting plan includes all 3 types of these trees. The trees along the street, along Ledge Road, are compliant with the trees listed on the Darien Commercial Design Guidelines, as well as the trees that are within and near the parking lot. The proposed arborvitae trees we would consider landscape trees and are not, and there is no recommended tree list for these types of trees. So we continue to show the green giant arborvitaes. We are showing Norway spruce trees to the along the northwestern corner of the property, where there is a little bit more light, allowing for more robust growth of the spruce trees. While to the northeast of the building, there's a stand of existing mature deciduous trees, and we feel that the green giant arborvitae are more appropriate for this space. Continue to go back to the other plan. We included on our planting details and specifications mock-up images, sample images of what the arborvitae hedge would look like and the spruce tree hedge would look like. If you go to the next. I'd like just to take the time, per the request, we added an elevation along the northern property boundary just north of the proposed service building, and I will walk through that right now if you go to the next slide. So this is a zoomed up, enlarged view of the proposed elevation, and below is the proposed planting plan with the red line showing the cut through where the elevation is shown. So the location in the foreground in bold dashed outline we had drawn in the proposed service building to show how the proposed building relates to the proposed and existing screening conditions. Starting from the west, which is the left of the page, the dark, thick black line cutting across the section represents the proposed grade at the location of the elevation cut. As the grade moves to the east, it rises to mound around the back of the proposed ramp, providing a little more height to the arborvitae screening trees before it connects back to the existing grade to the east. To the north of the building is the proposed evergreen screening hedge located on BMW's property, as you can see in the plan view below the elevation. These trees are shown in forest green, and these trees will be 20 to 22 feet height at install, as depicted in the elevation. We have sketched in the proposed screening trees mature height of 25 to 30 feet, and this outline is shown in dark gray above the trees. As shown, when these trees reach their full maturity in 3 to 4 years, they will completely screen the proposed service building from the neighboring property. To the north of the proposed screening trees located on Middlesex Commons property is an existing 8-foot screening fence. This is shown in dark gray and extends the majority of the boundary except between the 2 Middlesex Common garages, where there is an existing screening wall, which I'll point out with through photos later in this slideshow. And you can see where the 8-foot screening fence is in the plan. To the north of the fence, there are pockets of existing arborvitae hedges on the neighboring property. We are showing these in black. There is the largest grouping to the west, the left of page, a grouping in the middle between the condo and the garage, and a grouping to the east between the garage and the condo. When we met with the neighbors and walked the area along the fence, we discussed options for adding more screening on their property. We determined that the only available location that was not already planted with screening trees or mature deciduous forested area was in between the western screening hedge on the left and the central screening hedge. We are proposing 8 additional 20 to 20 foot arborvitae trees to be planted on the property in this location. These trees are shown in forest green in the elevation. We have also sketched in the existing and proposed screening trees on the Middlesex Commons property at their mature height of 25 to 30 feet, which is shown in dark gray. To the north of the screening trees, we have located the proposed condo units and garages. And in the background of the elevation, we are showing an outline of the most northern condos located approximately 275 feet away from the BMW property boundary. So that kind of sums up this elevation. So we're showing all of the screening trees between the proposed service building and the condo units. If you continue to the next slide, we had shown this image prior, but this shows the location of where we're proposing to add the arborvitae trees on the Middlesex Commons property to connect the 2 existing screening hedge, the one shown on the left and then the one shown on the right. To the left, you'll see that there's the existing screening hedge with approximately all the way to the west. There's approximately 30 foot height arborvitae jumping down to about 18 to 20 foot height. The red line shown on this drawing shows the approximate height that the proposed 20 to 22 foot screening trees will be at install, and then the purple line shows the 30 foot mature screening height, which you can see aligns with the existing arborvitae screening trees that they have currently on the property. Also, just to note, this picture was taken over a year ago, so these trees have grown we projected 2 to 3 feet since this picture was taken. If you move to the next image. So this image is facing south from the furthest, most northern condo property, which we had discussed was approximately 275 feet away from our property boundary. There's existing screening trees to the west of the image that will screen the BMW property, as well as mature deciduous trees to the left. You can see in the background of this image, there are 2 garages and then the screening wall between the 2 garages. We had explored places to install evergreen trees to help block the views of BMW from the neighboring property, and there's actually pavement right up to the edge of the wall between the two garages, so it wasn't feasible to put screening trees there, as well as to the left of the image between the one garage and the condo unit along the eastern side of this image. There are mature deciduous trees located in this area, so it's very shady, and it also is, we didn't want to impact the existing trees that are currently there. If you jump to the next slide. So this is, we talked a little bit about this image, just to review again. There's an existing boulder slope between the Whole Foods lot and ours. Our property line starts at the bottom of the slope to the south, which is the right of the page, and terminates in the middle of the boulder slope to the left of the page. We are proposing that our arborvitae screening trees come down at the base of this wall on our property, where we've actually extended the green space away from and cut away some of this asphalt. If you continue to the next slide. So this is a view facing north. I was describing the mature deciduous trees located on the Middlesex Commons property, where we had explored potentially adding screening trees. And you can see the existing screening trees in the distance. We are proposing screening trees along our property and expanding the green space, cutting out some of this asphalt. If you go to the next, and I believe that's it for my presentation, right on time.
Yeah,
please
about
let me.
30 seconds to spare. So is that it? I know we were crunched for time, but anybody else from BMW? I know we only have about a minute left.
Nope, that was it. Tried to keep it short and sweet for you today, unless Wilder has one final comment.
Okay.
Doesn't look like it.
So David Humphrey,
Liz
ARB.
Geiger here. I'm gonna go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I'll just close real quick. Appreciate you guys going through that. You know, we have all this information now. I think it was super helpful to get, you know, just that recap from you. You know, we'll talk to see whether there's any feedback we can provide you before the next meeting, but otherwise, you know, hopefully we're close to a point where that can be a final meeting for us. And I'm sure you guys love coming here and presenting this stuff to us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Liz Geiger here. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I apologize that we are having to cut you guys short. This is all these meetings are special meetings. We're on a time crunch tonight. They've got to record planning and zoning next. You guys might even be attending that meeting. So what we'll do, our next meeting is March 16th. Dave Keating will put you guys first on the agenda, so we can, if there's anything else you'd like to present, anything that comes up in the meantime, I believe you have a meeting with planning and zoning that time. If you guys want to, you guys have that meeting, want to present any more materials at our next meeting, you're welcome to do that, and then we'll give sufficient amount of time to make sure all ARB members give you comments and final comments, so you guys do not have to come back a fifth time at that point. So that's it. ARB members, we have other items on the docket tonight. We are going to push those back to March 16th as well. I will follow up you guys offline about our one agenda item that is, here we go, that is for informal discussion. As a summary to that, I want to let you guys know the Museum of Darien is asking for our unofficial feedback on this image that they have provided to you guys. It has been researched extensively and approved by the Museum of Darien's board, and which includes Ken Reese. The ore comes from the specs from the Middlesex boat, which was designed by the world famous naval historian. And the plantings will evoke shoreline planned by the Garden Club. That is their proposal. I'd love you guys all, after this meeting, to take 5 minutes and send me your feedback on that proposal so I can unofficially submit it in one clean email via Dave Keating to the Museum of Darien. Is there any other comments we have tonight? Otherwise, I need to sign off of here. No. Okay. Marion, I know you've got some great comments, by the way, on the Museum of Darien. I'm looking forward to those on email. And And I will copy all of you guys. You can all see what each other says on that. Okay, that's it, guys. Again, I'm sorry for the short meeting tonight. We got to clean off here, but I'll see you guys again on March 16th for a special meeting. It is 7.